Hello guys, welcome to the show. It's your boy, A Truth will set you free. Hashtag SFTS, search for the symbols. I want to give a shout out to all my supporters, everybody who subscribed, everybody who hit that like button, everybody who leave me comments. I thank y'all, I appreciate y'all so much, and thank y'all for your support. There's no me without you, and I cannot express it enough.
Hello guys, welcome back to the show. It's your boy, A Truth will set you free. There's no me without you, and I cannot express it enough. Hi guys, what we're going to get in today is Ancient Israel's in America Part 2. We're going to talk about Egypt, Napoleon, and we're going to talk more about Israel and prove more facts that Israel, ancient Israel, in fact, is in America. This is part 2 in my series, history they hide. We're gonna get back into how ancient Israel is in America. We're gonna talk about France, the Louisiana Purchase, and some other interesting facts about America and how Israel is definitely in America. So I appreciate you guys for taking time out to watch my video. Please like, please leave a comment, and please subscribe. Before you do anything, like and subscribe. And we're going to get into this
History
video.
and Biblical Mystery channel, your gateway to the esoteric and concealed facets of history and biblical narratives. Today, we delve into the intriguing theory that positions America as the ancient Egypt. We will unravel the mysteries of the past in a way you've never seen before. Let's begin this journey together. In the late 18th century, a young and ambitious French general, Napoleon Bonaparte, led a significant expedition. This campaign, known as the French invasion of Egypt and Syria, took place from 1798 to 1801. The French forces first landed in Alexandria on July 2nd, 1798. But what if the history we've been told isn't the complete story? What if the Alexandria they landed in was not the one in Egypt, but in Louisiana, America? Alexandria, a port city on the Mediterranean Sea in northern Egypt, was founded in 331 BCE by Alexander the Great. It was the site of the Pharaohs, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the legendary Library of Alexandria. It was once the most vital cultural center of the ancient world, rivaling even Athens, Greece. Historically, the ancient city of Alexandria was divided into 5 major quarters: the Bruchium or Royal Quarter, the Gymnasium Quarter, the Soma Quarter, the Museum Quarter, and Rhakotis. This division of the city into 5 districts was a unique feature of its urban planning, reflecting the city's diverse population and multifaceted cultural life. What if this ancient description of Alexandria is the same one that exists in America? Interestingly, Alexandria in Louisiana also has a division into 5 districts. This parallel between the ancient city in Egypt and the modern city in America adds another layer to the theory of America as the ancient Egypt. This was a time of great exploration and discovery, with nations like France seeking to expand their knowledge and influence. Around the same time, France began colonizing the Americas in the 16th century and continued into the following centuries as it established a colonial empire in the Western Hemisphere. In 1803, the Louisiana Territory was sold to the United States in the Louisiana Purchase under the leadership of Napoleon. Let's consider the journey from France to Egypt. A voyage of approximately 2,500 miles across the Mediterranean Sea would typically take about 2 weeks. However, historical records indicate that Napoleon's expedition in 1798 took a month to reach Egypt. This discrepancy in travel times raises questions about the official narrative. Now let's explore an alternative scenario: the voyage from France to America across the Atlantic Ocean. a distance of approximately 3,800 miles, would have taken about a month in the 18th century. A round trip would have taken approximately 3 months. Comparing these two journeys, it's clear that the French under Napoleon's command were not crossing the Mediterranean at all, but were actually sailing to the Americas. This observation adds an interesting dimension to the narrative of Napoleon's expedition. However, it's important to note that the British, who were rivals of the French according to mainstream history, had a significant naval presence in the Atlantic during this period. They were known to interfere with French expeditions. Could it be that the British played a role in diverting the French from their intended destination, leading them to land in Alexandria, Louisiana?
All right, guys. So Napoleon discovered Egypt. All right. History tells us that he discovered Egypt on the other side of the world, but he discovered Egypt in America. All right. This is Joseph Bonaparte, his brother, who lived in America. All of his family members, Napoleon's family members, moved to America. Around this time, that's when they used to fake a lot of deaths, especially if you was of royalty, and Napoleon was of royalty, and all of his family, all of them fled to the United States. All his brothers and sisters, all were Americans. All right, and he had a library like in Alexandria, like they say there was a library in Alexandria of 8,000 books, bigger than the Library of Congress. So that is a big connection right there, that Joseph Bonaparte had all these books.
Their only great-granddaughter, on the other hand, married a Danish count and purportedly raised her children overseas. Joseph Bonaparte. Napoleon's oldest sibling, Joseph, went Cajun after following his brother's downfall and escaped to the United States. In the summer of 1815, after briefly living in Philly, he bought Point Breeze, a massive estate on the banks of the Delaware River in Bordenton, New Jersey. Flush with cash, particularly once his secretary retrieved a box of buried treasure from Switzerland. Okay. These niggas is always coming up on treasures. He also purchased an even bigger property in upstate New York with a lake at its center, now called Lake Bonaparte. Can we look up Lake Bonaparte? Anybody been out there? Anybody ever been to Lake Bonaparte? At Point Breeze, Joseph housed an immense collection of artwork, furniture, and books, as well as royal jewels from Spain, where he had been king from 808 to 813. That's 1808 to 1813. His library was the largest in the USA, says Monroe Price, a professor of international history at Bradford University in England and author of Napoleon, The End of Glory. It was 8,000 volumes, and the Library of Congress at that point was 6,500 volumes. So this is very interesting here. I just want to stay on this point, that a member of Napoleon's family had 8,000 volumes, and the Library of Congress had 6,500, okay? So for any of you who do serious research, you understand that the Library of Congress is a huge resource for us who want to seek old information. When you want to look at a book from the 1800s and you don't want to pay $1,800 for it, you go to the Library of Congress because there's a chance that they may have it.
All right, to prove there's a lot going on during this French Revolutionary times where they was faking deaths and stuff like that, this is a case called United States versus Turner. These are descendants of the Wichita Nation and of France who are trying to retrieve their land, these land grants that were given to somebody named descendants of Joseph de Maison Rouge, right? So they tried to get their land grants, and the district court actually granted it to them, and granted it to their descendants, saying that their lineage was correct, and that they proved that the lands have belonged to them. I think they reversed the decision because it didn't specify whether it was private property or not, but it revolved around the validity of a land grant under Spanish law in the territory of Louisiana. They was trying to buy the whole Louisiana. I mean the Louisiana Purchase side, not just the state of Louisiana. They was trying to get the entire Louisiana. So yeah, they the descendants of somebody named Henry Turner, the Turners, and this guy their Rouge, who happens to be the Dauphin of France. Louis Joseph Xavier Francois was Dauphin of France as the second child and first son of King Louis and Marie Antoinette. As son of King of France, he was Fils de France. Louis Joseph died at age 7 from tuberculosis and was succeeded as Dauphin by his 4-year-old brother, Louis Charles. Alright, he supposedly had died at the age of 9. On March 31st, 1795, was appointed to be the child's guardian in place of Laurent. In May that year, the boy was seriously ill, and the doctor, Dassault, who had visited him 7 months earlier, was summoned. However, on 1st of June, Dassault himself died suddenly, not without suspicion of poison, and it was some days before the doctors Philippe Jean Pelletan and Jean-Baptiste Dumanguin were called. Louis Charles died on the 8th of June, 1795. The next day, an autopsy was conducted by Pelletan. In a report, it was stated that a child apparently about 10 years of age, which the commissioners told us was the late Louis Captain's son, had died of scrofulous infection of long standing. Alright, so he supposedly died at 9 years old. But this court case proves that these people are descendants of him from Joseph de Rouge, which is the son of King Louis. All right, he supposedly died at 9 years old, but what happened was he went to America, lived his days out there. He got old and everything, and had kids. And these people are descendants of them. They got land grants during when the Louisiana Purchase, Louisiana was in France's control, and they gave them a land grant. So these people who are descendants is fighting for their land, which was given to them during the time of before the time of the Louisiana Purchase, at the time when France had Louisiana. So this kid has supposedly died at 9 years old, but these people are his direct descendants, and they initially won the court case. This is him right here, Joseph de Maison Rouge, right? He just said he died at 9, but it says right here, death, August 26, 1799, age 54 to 55, New Orleans Parish, Louisiana. So he supposedly died at 9 years old, but it says right here he was born in 1744 and died at 1799, Joseph de Maison Rouge. This is who he is, and this is who the land grant went to. Marquis Joseph de Maison Rouge was the son of Louis Maison de Rouge, and that's the king, and Catherine de Villeneuve. He was a French knight who was kicked out of France during the French Revolution. He arrived in New Orleans and was given a Spanish land grant in the northeast Louisiana with the stipulation to settle and colonize the area. The venture failed. Sick and dying, he returned to New Orleans, where he died at the Bouligny family home. He was buried in St. Louis, number 1. Although no children were listed in his will, it was alleged later in lawsuits that he had fathered 2 sets of twins with his Irish housemaid, Maria Fair. She had been given little property in his will. His 4 children, Maria, John, and a twin who had died in infancy. All right, this guy married a person from the Wichita, or a princess from the Wichita Nation of Indians, and they took care of him over there, and it was like a royal wedding, like a princess of the Indians, and this French king right here, who supposedly died at 9 years old, got married and had a baby, and their descendants took United States to court for the whole entire Louisiana. All right, this is his brother, Louis Charles, Duke of Normandy. This who took over when he died, supposedly died, was the younger son of King Louis of France and Queen Marie Antoinette's older brother, Louis Joseph, the Dauphin of France, died June 1789, a little over a month before the start of the French Revolution. At his brother's death, he became the new Dauphin, heir apparent to the throne, a title he held until 1791, when the new constitution accorded to their heir apparent the title of Prince Royal, when his father was executed on the 21st of January 1793, during the middle of the period of the French Revolution, as he automatically succeeded as King of France in the eyes of the royalists. France was by then a republic, since Louis Charles was imprisoned and died in captivity in June 1795. He never actually ruled. There was a lot going on during this French Revolution. It's like they staged this whole French Revolution just to pull off the Louisiana Purchase and fake these guys' death and fake Napoleon's death and fake the king's death. All right, now this is from a Masonic book, okay, about Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to America. It is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, in the pyramids, under the guidance of the kings and the mystic rites of masonry, were worked many thousands of years ago, but at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. In America, rediscovered in the 15th century and repopulated in the 17th, was the recovered Egypt and the Promised Land, or the land of the constellation of the Eagle. No matter how numerous or complicated the works of a lock may be, but if the right key is applied, the Great Pyramid proves to be the long sought key. All right, this Masonic book proves that Egypt was in America. Ancient Egypt was in America. That means that ancient Israel was in America. If Egypt was here, where the Israelites came out of Egypt, ancient Egypt, Memphis, that means that ancient Israel was here. Now, there have been no artifacts found in the pyramids. It says here, few artifacts have been found inside the Giza pyramids, most notably the Dixon relics, a granite ball, a copper hook, and a cedar rod discovered in 1872 in the shaft of the Great Pyramid. That's the only thing they found in the pyramid, a granite ball, a copper hook, and a cedar rod. All right, all these Egyptian artifacts that they got, where they get them from? They didn't find anything in the Great Pyramids. They already was looted. All of these artifacts that they have in these museums come from America. They are all from America. This is from the Bible. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do ye look upon one another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. All right, this is another connection, how that there was corn in Egypt. Corn was not on the other side of the world, so this proves that Egypt was in America. Corn or maize originated in South Central Mexico about 9,000 years ago, domesticated by indigenous people from a wild grass called teosinte. Through a process of selective breeding, this man-made crop then spread throughout the Americas, becoming a staple food and culturally significant grain for many Native American civilizations. All right, Corn originated in the Americas. South Central Mexico is spread throughout the Americas. Corn was in Egypt in ancient times. That means Egypt was in America. Part of Egypt was in Mexico. Alright? The lower part of Egypt is in Mexico. Okay? Mexico was in North America down to Central America. That's what the borders of Egypt were. Alright? Anytime in the Bible, that's what it's explaining. Corn was first introduced to Europe in 1493 when Christopher Columbus brought seeds from his first voyage to the Caribbean. It was first grown in Spain and quickly spread to other parts of the Mediterranean region and beyond through the Columbian Exchange. The Mediterranean region. So how is the biblical places on the other side of the world if there was corn in Egypt, but corn didn't reach there till 1493? That undoubtedly proves that Israel and Egypt was in America. Alright? Now, let's get to the Pharaoh from the Bible. The Pharaoh from the Bible is not given a name in text. It only refers to the ruler by the title Pharaoh. Alright? The Bible consistently refers to the ruler as Pharaoh, a title for the king of Egypt. The text refers to the Israelites building the city of Ramses. Alright? It also says the Pharaoh who oppressed Israel died, and there was a new Pharaoh when Moses returned. Possible historical identities: Ramses II the Great is the most popular and traditional candidate. The mention of the city of Ramses leads to its identification. Alright? So, let's stay on Ramses II. Now, in Egypt in America, Memphis, Tennessee, they have a statue of Ramses II. Alright? And they say that it's a replica of the real one that's in a museum in Egypt on the other side of the world. Now, this is a picture of both of them, alright? The one on the left is the one that's in Egypt on the other side of the world, in the Middle East. The one on the right is the one that's in Memphis, Tennessee, alright? Now, which one looks fake and which one looks real? Which one looks older and which one looks created? This one on the left that's in Egypt on the Middle East looks like somebody built this. It looks faker than fake. And this one on the right, which is in Memphis, Tennessee, looks like the ancient one. Look at it. It's all dusted up. It looks ancient. Alright? Now, one of these, they say they created from some fake granite or whatever. But you know damn well they found this Ramses II in Memphis, Tennessee. The statue of Ramses II is a colossal 3,200-year-old figure of Ramses II depicting himself standing. It's 11 meters tall, made from red granite, and weighs 83 tons. The statue was discovered in 1820, broken into 6 pieces at Mit Ra'ana near ancient Memphis, Egypt, where it lay for several decades. Early attempts at restoration in Suti failed, but in 1955, Egyptian Prime Minister Gamal Abdel moved the fragments to a large Bab al-Hadid square in Cairo. Alright, this is bullshit. Because how was this not discovered until 1820? All the wars that happened during the Crusades, all the history of Egypt throughout history, nobody found this statue. It was just now discovered in 1820. That is false. Napoleon was in Louisiana during the 1800s. That's when Egyptology was created. The whole concept of Egypt was created around this time. 1820 is when they found Ramses II in Tennessee, Memphis. Alright? Memphis, Tennessee, 25-foot tall statue of Ramses II. They say it's a fiberglass replica of Egypt's pharaoh. God stands on a campus University of Memphis after spending a couple decades in front of the Great Pyramid in Memphis. Alright? They trying to cover this up. That's all they doing. The replica statue of Ramses II was made in Memphis, supervised by Steve Master, chief curator of wonders. The Memphis International Cultural Series, the mold was made in a warehouse on President's Island in southeast Memphis by master mold maker Ron Street from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. The molds were sent to Philadelphia to be cast in resin and crushed granite. All right, the fake one is overseas in Egypt, in the Middle East. The real one is right here in Memphis, Tennessee. All right, they trying to do a whole cover up. Napoleon and them, they conquered Egypt. All right, and they found it. Now, when you put Memphis, Egypt into Google Maps, this is where it pops up. Egypt, Memphis, Tennessee. Egypt is an American populated place in Shelby County, Tennessee. All right, with the coordinates. And in the picture, there's a pyramid. All right, this is probably the pyramid or mound where they found these Egyptian artifacts in the first place. Where did they get this picture from? This is a pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. This is what pops up when you put Memphis, Egypt into the Google Maps. All right, this is the picture right here. A real live pyramid mound pops up. We all know that there's more pyramids in America than there is anywhere in the world. All right, the Egypt in the Middle East is just clearly a theme park. All of these artifacts, all of this evidence that shows Egypt all came from the Americas. All right, any other artifact findings like the Dead Sea Scrolls or King Tut's tomb, those are all planned, orchestrated. They put a whole bunch of artifacts in one place and act like they made a big discovery. All right, on 26 November 1922, the first steps toward uncovering Tutankhamun's tomb were made. Very carefully and using a chisel, Carter made a small hole in the top left-hand corner of the doorway. Using a candle for light, he peered through the small gap in the doorway and was amazed to see the dazzling gold treasures glistening back at him. This was the moment, the defining moment of his career. The rest, as they say, was history for Carter, Lord Carnarvon, and the rest of the archaeological world. In these weeks and months that followed, precise cataloging of the antechamber took place under the watchful eye of Pierre Lacour, director of the Department of Antiquities of Egypt. Lord Carnarvon and his daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert, were frequent visitors to the burial chamber during this time. Alright, so these are the guys that found King Tut's tomb. Alright, this is a big cover up. Alright, King Tut's tomb. This is a whole hoax. They put all these artifacts that was from America, they put them in one place and act like they found them. Alright, they didn't find them till 1922. Are you serious? Out of all the wars and stuff that happened in Egypt, after much laborious and intricate work, on 16 February 1923, Carter opened the sealed doorway, revealing for the first time the sarcophagus of Tutankhamun. This startling discovery was made even more special by the fact that it proved to be one of the most intact pharaonic tombs in the Valley of Kings. It was not long after the seal was broken and the contents revealed that Carnarvon and Carter disagreed over the management of the tomb by the Egyptian authorities. The squabble in fact led to a temporary closure, however, soon enough, Carnarvon apologized and they continued working on the tomb. You see, they started beefing. They started beefing because it was all types of different artifacts and stuff that was in the tomb that didn't belong to King Tut. It was stuff from his mother, from his father. It was the discovery, however, was to be the last for Lord Carnarvon, as he passed away on the 5th of April 1923 after contracting blood poisoning, sparking rumors of a curse. In no time at all, around the world, press attention spiraled out of control. Speculation was rife about a curse inflicted on anyone responsible for breaking into the pharaoh's tomb. Over the coming years, the legend of the curse gained more traction as some members of the evacuation team died in mysterious circumstances, which some dismissed this as drivel, but others began to believe in the curse, fueling further rumors. You see, these guys started dying mysteriously because they was covering up. They didn't want to leave no trails back to what went on in that tomb. They didn't want nobody to know that, number one, this tomb was not an untouched tomb like they said. Like they said, they went in there and it was left intact as it was left years and years ago from antiquity. And that's not true, all right? These artifacts were placed there, all different type of artifacts, all different type of pharaohs from America, put there to make it act like this was the Middle East, that this happened in the Middle East, that Egypt was in the Middle East. In the meantime, as the heightened level of interest in ancient Egypt did not look as if it was abating, the speculation over the curse of the tomb continued to circulate, with the likes of Arthur Conan Doyle telling the press of an evil elemental spirit which was used to protect the mummy. Nevertheless, the evidence of such a curse was never found in the tomb. Wisps may involved in the evacuation went on to live long lives. The story of the mummy's curse lives on to this day. Sadly, in 1939, after succumbing to Hodgkin's disease, Howard Carter also passed away after dedicating much of his life to the discovery of King Tut. His epitaph and a quote of the Whispering Cup of Tut appears to be an apt dedication for a man who uncovered the last resting place of a legendary king. May your spirit live, may you spend millions of years, you who love Thebes, sitting with your face in the north wind, your eyes will hold it. Happiness. Yeah, so these guys started dying mysteriously. They started killing them off or started faking their deaths. And then, they said it was the evil spirit in the tomb. And that's why these guys was dying. But they were just covering their tracks because this was a fake discovery. Or to make it look like Egypt was in the Middle East. All these artifacts from America was placed over there. There's no way all those wars and all that stuff happened in Egypt throughout history and nobody found this stuff, alright? The river Euphrates occurs 21 times in the Bible and has quite a powerful story. The first mention of it is in Genesis 2:14, where the Euphrates is described as the fourth river that is defined the boundary of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was there. Yahweh had formed and placed Adam and Eve. The garden had every tree that was pleasant and good for food and contained the tree of knowledge and good of evil. The Garden of Eden, bounded by the Euphrates, was the area where Adam and Eve was tempted by the serpent as a punishment for their sins. The eating of the tree, knowledge of good and evil, they were driven out of. The next mention of the river Euphrates was in Genesis 15:18. Genesis 15 contains a number of promises made by Yahweh to Abram. In verse 18, one of these promises that Abram's seed would be given land that extended from the river of Egypt, which is the Colorado River, to the great river, the river Euphrates, which is the Mississippi River. What is interesting about this promise is that from the time of the nation of Israel coming out of Egypt right up until their dispersion after AD 70, they did not control the land up to the river Euphrates. As we go through the passages related to the river Euphrates, the reason for this becomes clear. Alright? The river of Egypt is the Colorado River, which goes right down into the Red Sea. Alright? The Euphrates has always been the Mississippi River. They say it's the Nile, it's something like the Nile, it's the Euphrates. The Mississippi is the Euphrates from the Bible. Alright? They say Eden is in Florida. Euphrates goes around Eden, around Florida. Alright? Remember, Florida used to be all of those states. Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, all of those states, that was Florida. Alright? And Euphrates borders those things. Euphrates is the Mississippi. The river of Egypt is the Colorado River. The Great Sea is the Pacific Ocean. Alright? These are facts These are things that people need to know. All right? We all have to keep this in context. Okay? Now, in the Middle East, is very small. The Exodus had millions of people and they wandered in the desert for 40 years. All right? Now let's picture this. Millions of people wandering for 40 years. All right? You cannot wander in a small place for 40 years. It would take about 6 to 7 days of continuous walking to travel from Egypt to Israel across the desert, a distance comparable to the route from Cairo to Jerusalem. The biblical 40-year journey is attributed to spiritual and logistical challenges for a large population, not just walking time, as a direct distance could be converted in a couple weeks. So for 40 years, they stayed in a place that takes 6 to 7 days to travel. Millions of people. This is false. This also proves that Israel was in America. The United States contains several large deserts, the Great Basin Desert being the largest, covering nearly 200,000 square miles. The other major deserts are in Chichuhachuan Desert, the largest in North America, but with the most of its area in Mexico, Egypt, the Sonorian Desert at about 100,000 square miles, and the Mojave Desert at approximately 750,000 square kilometers. All right? All of these deserts in North America are huge. The Great Basin, Chihuahuan, Sonorian, and the Mojave Desert. Huge. Huge enough for millions of people to wander for 40 years. Huge amount of land. Huge amount of desert. Huge amount of area. Alright? It takes way more time to cross these deserts. 200,000 square miles. Alright? The Exodus did not happen in the Middle East. No way, no how did the Exodus happen in the Middle East. I need people to get this idea out of their head. The Red Sea is like what, 500 miles deep. The Red Sea and the Red Sea that's in the Middle East, like 500. I mean, not 500 miles, 500 feet deep. There's no way that God parted that. But this Red Sea right here, on the Gulf of California, which is in the picture right here, along with the deserts, is only a couple feet deep. Alright? Easy for God to spread the water and people to walk across. It makes way more sense, alright? Now, if you look in this map right here, you can see where the Mississippi River is, the Euphrates, to the Colorado River. That is the area of Egypt. All the way down to like the middle of Mexico. That was the area of Egypt, alright? From right around St. Louis area, all the way over here to Nevada, with the Colorado River, the River of Egypt, to the Great River, the Euphrates, the Mississippi River, okay? Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. I thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.